The man never expected that, despite being just an ordinary swordsmanship teacher, he was actually the world's strongest sword master, something he was unaware of. Even his students had become well-known figures across the land. One day, a former student of Beryl, who was now the captain of the Knights Order, invited him to become the instructor for the knights. However, at his age, Beryl felt he no longer had the strength to take on such a role. But since it was the king's invitation, he couldn't refuse. Yet, having an old man teach the knights how to wield a sword was something no one would accept easily. But since the captain was his former student, no one dared to speak up. Soon, the day arrived for Beryl to begin his training. But a blonde-haired boy stepped forward, stating that anyone who wanted to be the knight instructor needed to have real strength, so they needed to see Beryl's skills for themselves. He wasn't looking for trouble, but Alucia, having faith in Beryl, saw it as an opportunity for Beryl to showcase his abilities. However, Beryl was quite confused. He was just a countryside swordsmanship teacher, and the opponent might be even stronger than he was. Not just Beryl, but everyone in the Knights Order thought the same. Although Beryl was the captain's old mentor, that was a thing of the past. Some had heard rumors about Beryl being the sword saint, but it was mostly hearsay. At that moment, Beryl decided that even if he lost, he couldn't afford to lose embarrassingly. He had to give Alucia at least some face. Once the match began, the blonde-haired boy launched a fierce assault. If Beryl was hit, the consequences would be unimaginable. The onlookers thought Beryl was sure to lose. But soon, Beryl found an opening in the boy's attacks, causing the boy to lose his composure. At this point, Beryl realized that the opponent was not as strong as he had imagined. However, the previous strike wasn't convincing enough to prove his strength. While defending, Beryl noticed that the boy's speed and power were greater than his, but his movements were all linear. This allowed Beryl to see every move coming. Beryl didn't hesitate. In an instant, he pinpointed the boy's weaknesses. The blonde-haired boy was impressed. Now, all he wanted to know was how Beryl had figured out how to counter his moves.